Hey everyone, I hope you're having a fantastic day so far. So today I'm going to try and answer some questions that some people have asked me underneath my videos and content on YouTube. So hopefully I'm answering some of your questions as well. So let me just share my screen. So first comment is, always love your content. Thanks for taking time to share your thoughts. Really do appreciate it. And yeah, thank you for the kind words. Yeah, I really said that. So I want to share that there. Thank you very much, Martha. Much appreciated. Second question. Love this framework. Can I ask, when you first started building these connections, did you have a strategy in mind or did it happen more organically? That's a really good question. And let me just open this up so we know what's being said. So here, I'm talking about the 3 C's of connection. So curate, converse, and community. And this is essentially a way in order for you to connect with individuals who may have job opportunities for you or business opportunities, etc., etc. If I'm very honest with you, I would say this was more organic. Not because I had the common sense to know how to do it, but because that's just kind of what happened. I was thinking, who else is out there who could help me? And because, previously I had names such as Network at 80 and all that kind of stuff there, I was like, I need to connect with people. So essentially, after doing it again and again and again and realizing actually the majority of my contracts came through speaking to different people, then I soon learned and realized that actually this is the way to do it. This is actually where the hidden job market is. So what I'm going to reply by saying is, I learned this organically and it became a thing where I noticed a pattern. And with that pattern, it became clear that actually this is how I got jobs. And most of the job market is within this hidden job market, i.e. connecting with people, understanding them and them understanding me, and finding job opportunities that way. It just goes to show that human connection is so key. So hopefully that comes through. So Linus organically came with a thing I noticed. With that pattern, it became clear that actually this is how I got jobs. I'm going to say, again, I need to not be too much of a perfectionist in these videos because it's not going to be perfect, but this is the quickest way I can do it. Okay, cool. So I'm going to reply there. Thank you very much for that question. Curious, how do you personally track your income and expenses to stay ahead of HMRC deadlines as a portfolio career professional? That's a great question. And I can see these individuals are accountants, so I'm guessing they already know the answer. Let's be real. But the reality is, for me personally, I keep it old school. Okay, I know I can use all these gizmos and gadgets and all this kind of jazz there. I don't. I work very closely with my accountant. I do have some stuff that is connected to my business bank account, so I use Tide, and essentially that allows my accountants to check activity, check transactions, what comes in, what comes out, all of that kind of jazz there. That's the first thing. Second thing is I make sure that all of my pay, okay, whether this is from courses, coaching, contracting, goes through one business account. It's the same business account, so everything goes through there. And actually, there are either invoices attached or clear descriptions attached, etc., etc. But because of AI, because of technology, that's done really, really well now. And I think the third thing that I do is when it comes to expenses, it will be a combination between purchasing things via the business account, or it will be purchasing things by my personal account. Now, of course, there may be some confusion there, but this is where really good scrutiny is important. So I will export every single month my expenses. Why do I do this? I've realized that if I try to automate this, I don't have accountability or ownership over it. So I like to see it line by line. And this gives me a good idea of what sort of things I'm spending my money on when it comes to my business, when it comes to software, when it comes to places that I go, when it comes to travel specific to the things that are around my portfolio career. And so when I do all of that stuff there, then I send those expenses to my accountant, and then I ask for some sort of, what do they call it again? I've forgotten the term, but essentially a breakdown of what my taxes may look like. Not definitely looks like, but may look like. So this will look at corporation tax, this will look at VAT, this will look at income that's come in, and it will take account of that, end to end. And so that's essentially how it's done. And that process has worked really well. The accountants are happy with the way I do it. And that's the way it's been. For me, because I know I'm clear around the sort of portfolio career stuff that I do, i.e. I would say contracting slash consulting, that's kind of the same bucket, coaching, and then I'm going to say courses, content creation, that's another thing, then it's become quite straightforward, to be fair. But everything is easier to just link everything to one account. So the simplest way I'm going to respond to this is say, I work very closely with my accountant. I recognize that I am responsible for tracking my expenses and income. Everything goes into one business account, and the majority of the time expenses come out of the same account, and if not, my personal account. But I make sure I apply the right level of scrutiny and export my expenses and share this with my accountant, and they share with me what type of operational costs and or taxes may be attributed to my business. That's how I manage it. Hopefully that makes sense. That's not going to be perfect. I don't need to say the operational costs, so I'm just going to say type of taxes. Perfect. And I'm going to reply. Thank you very much for the comment. Next one. So nice video. If you add 2 to 3 trending keywords, okay, same old. Thank you. Moving on. Amazing content. Thank you, Polona. I think it's Polona. Hopefully I've said that properly. And just to go to the content they're talking about, I've written here, most people think the way to escape burnout is to move abroad. And here what I'm essentially saying is you don't have to move abroad necessarily, but you do need to think about these different things to, again, I guess, set yourself free. What do I mean by this? Because I'm talking quite vague. I guess what I mean by this is you need to think what truly will invoke change. I've always spoken about being digital, remote, and global. So if you solve that problem, then it's less about physically where you are, because everywhere is burning in some way, shape, or form. So it's a difficult place to be in. So I'm just gonna say thank you, much appreciated. Okay, next. These are insights I needed right now. So, okay, this is the same video. I'm going to say, awesome, glad I could help you out. So reply. First comment, thank you very much. Next one, impressed by your content. I'll be glad to support editing. I'm just going to like that. My take is to strive and build a business in order to escape the rat race. So this is, the rat race is designed to keep you average. Definitely check out this video. And I hear this person. You know, for most people, it is about entrepreneurship. And actually, the 9 to 5 is not the way to do it. However, am I against the 9 to 5? No. You know, I'm in favor of working and making money and all that kind of stuff there. But I recognize if it works with entrepreneurship, then great, you know. So I definitely co-sign this. So I'm just going to say, I hear you loud and clear. Being an entrepreneur and building a business that has value to a specific audience is one of the best things you could learn to do in this current economy. I'm gonna say, wishing you the best of luck. Fantastic. Cool. And genuinely, man, wishing you the best of luck. So let's just put that there. Let's connect. Okay, let's definitely connect. Let me go to my LinkedIn and share that. Let's go there. I'm going to say most definitely. Most definitely. And then I'm going to put that in there. And if they want to connect, they can. Epic stuff. You are inspiring. I really appreciate that. I think what they're referring to is... So I usually wake up around 7 in the morning and I wash the dishes because I'm weird like that. I just want to make sure. Interesting. So this is my day in a life as a contractor video. So check it out if this is something that you're interested in. It may give you an idea. Is it fully representative? I mean, yes, but obviously every day is going to be slightly different. So let's just leave that there. Hey, Michael, is it possible to work inside and outside IR35 simultaneously? Assume it is, but contract dependent. Great question. So the reality is, and before I answer this, I would speak to an accountant who is specialized within the whole contracting space and independent consulting space. They would have a better take on this, and maybe even a recruiter, to be fair. The answer is yes, you can, but it depends which way around you do it. So for example, What I mean is, if you do an inside of IR35 role, you can only do one at a time. One inside IR35 role at a time. Whereas if you are outside of IR35, then you can do as many outside of IR35 roles as you want. So with that logic, you could do an inside of IR35 role and many outside of IR35 roles. Now, in practice, do many people do that? No, that's probably quite rare. What I'm sure people probably do if they were given the opportunity, even based on the market right now, is that they, what's the word? I would say they would be inside of IR35 and find an outside role, or given an outside role, because they have the time to do it, they would still do it. And if they were really smart or lucky, given the market, they would subcontract other individuals and get a finder's fee, whilst these other individuals are working on their behalf and making money as well. So there are ways to do it. The short answer is yes. Is it common? No. That's the honest truth. So what I'm going to say is, yes, it is possible. Typically, you can only do one inside of IR35 role at a time, and you can do as many outside of IR35 roles at a time. This is based on how an individual is taxed on the PAYE as an inside of IR35 individual versus a person who is working outside of IR35, typically working under a limited company. So hopefully that makes sense to this individual, but great question. I'm going to reply. Hopefully it makes sense. I'm just going to have to trust it makes sense. And what I'm going to say to this person is, if you want to see me talk about this specific question, I'm actually answering your question right now, and this will be posted on Sunday. So check it out on Sunday. So let's see. Perfect. Next one is, tired is an understatement. Waiting for some kind of massive change. We can't go like this, surely. I hear what you're saying. It's a difficult space right now, and I think we have to be in a position where we just have to take each moment as it comes and do the basics extremely well, because otherwise the alternative is just dire. I'm not gonna lie to you. So I hear what you're saying loud and clear. And that's what I'm going to say to you. I hear what you're saying loud and clear. This is the ghetto. So let's just do that. Let's paste, reply, boom. We've got another comment. Great points. I think this applies to all aspects of life. And what have I said here? Keep this up and you'll lose.
One thing that I've learned within this whole space of consulting and contracting, working with various different leaders, executive directors and all that kind of jazz is that you can't do catch me as you can forever. It's not going to last.
Yeah. You know, so this is a very good point, and I think this individual has experienced this. It definitely does. And essentially what I'm saying is that you can't do fake it till you make it and pretend to be this person. It only works to an extent. You're going to have to do the work. I start thinking about AI when it comes to this stuff. And AI is the great equalizer. It's a leverage tool in many ways, shapes and forms. However, it isn't a silver bullet. And actually, the people who have a certain way of thinking, have a certain philosophy, have certain frameworks, have certain values, give the AI context, the ones who win. Not the ones who are just using it for willy-nilly or whatever it may be. So I hear what this person is saying loud and clear. So I'm going to say here, I totally agree. But of course, I'm biased. Thank you for your comment. So let's do this there. And do a LOL, because otherwise it looks a bit too robotic, doesn't it? So the question here is, what to do if I find myself working in an environment where what do I do if I find myself working in that environment where nepotism and maintaining low status quo is passively encouraged? That is a great question. So this person is basically asking, how do I manage this space if, like, it's a boys club and people are essentially just inviting their people in, and actually you just need to shut up and dribble, just stay in the background and just pretend like it doesn't affect you? Look, there's a number of ways you can approach this. The first way is you could just be passive about it. And that sounds quite sad because, you know, when people get into that space, they kind of burn out in a way because their values don't necessarily align. But if it's the piece that they need, especially if they feel like they can't find anything else, then maybe that's what needs to happen. And actually, through time, you create some level of detachment and objectivity centered around, you know, being at work. But I understand work takes up a huge part of your time. So that's one option. The second option is you could try to say something. If you want to be what I would call a freedom fighter, and I've been this person many times before, where you want to call out stuff, then be that person. But just know, if you're going to be that person, you're going to have to be on it. You're going to have to be persistent. You're going to have to be accurate. You're going to have to be a commodity. You're going to have to be good at what you do as well. Because the risk with that is that you become a target. A target's on your back. And actually, the quicker they get rid of you, the better. If they have the powers to do it, especially if you're in a private company. The other sort of way you do this is if you play the game. Okay? And playing the game in this instance, without doing anything illegal, obviously, is essentially understanding what works within the bounds of legitimacy, within the bounds of, you know, work, HR elements, etc., etc., and play to their tune. At the same time, it's not being a mug. It's being firm when needs to be firm, but knowing when to pick your battles. But in the meantime, it is thinking of an escape plan. Some people's escape plans may be business. Okay, trying to start up a business, but that takes a long time. It's not going to be quick for everyone. Now you hear the entrepreneurs saying, oh, it's easy to do, blah, blah, blah. But it's not always easy to do because some people are just not there yet. Look at me throwing my chain out like I'm some sort of gangster. The other way is if you apply for jobs and actually you care less about a niche specific type of role and you're quite broad with your attempt and approach to apply for something that connects with you. So this is what I would say. Hopefully that helps. And it's not easy. I recognize this as well. So what I'd say is I'm currently answering your question and this video will be released on Sunday. So 17 minutes in, you'll see me give you a response. What I would say to this is you have three main options. Option number one is you stay passive and do nothing, knowing that this may damage you mentally, potentially. Number two, you could be a freedom fighter, but you have to be really good at what you do, provide value, and know that that is risky and they could get rid of you potentially. Or number three, you could play the game and actually understand what works for them and get them to understand you better by essentially fitting in, so to speak. But then the escape plan may be to find a job, start a business. But of course, both of those things could take time. So patience is definitely going to be a virtue when it comes to this specific type of position. Hopefully this helps. So hopefully it captured all of that because that would be annoying. It did. So here, yeah, I'm just going to post this. I'm going to say this. Well, if you're going to see the video, so hopefully that helps. Okay, I think this will be, I've got two more questions, 2 more points. So you're correct, the workplace is designed to keep you poor. Unfortunately, yeah, I mean, it's such a shame. I'm just going to say that. It's such a shame. Oh, God, it is. But, you know, obviously, I don't think that is the case for every single type of job and environment. However, you know, we serve a purpose at the end of the day. So, yeah, I'm going to leave it there. And the final comment is this. So, IR35 is a nightmare, full stop. 100% agree. Why do we have it? Just make everything outside of IR35. Make everyone consultants who are within the contracting game. But of course not. You want to raise money for taxes. Of course, I'm not opposed to taxes by any way, shape or form. We definitely need taxes. And it's the way we fund our communities. Or should I say our society. But if our government is spending money on things that don't necessarily benefit us, and now 20 years down the line from 2009 we are essentially paying back interest, then that's a bit annoying. You know, if you look at the breakdown of payments based on where our taxes are going, it's interest payments based on the bonds that we that were loaned to the UK. Number two, it's on our healthcare and education systems, which is understandable, but it's the most bloated out of all of the government departments. And what's the final thing? I don't remember what the final thing is, but it's just a shame. So I'm gonna say in capitals, well, not in capitals. I hear you loud and clear. Every contractor should just be outside of IR35, and that should be that. Simple as that. Cool. Well, hopefully you enjoyed this segment. Let me know your thoughts and comments. If you've got any other questions or comments that you want answering, then feel free to leave a comment below. And of course, if you want to see more videos centered around portfolio careers, contracting, and the alike, then don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. And as always, my friends, understand, reach, and expand. Peace.